Hi everyone and welcome back. In this section we wanted to tell a little bit of a story that Jodie had. This is perhaps going to be a little bit of a controversial section. We do feel it to be a little bit controversial in this particular topic of joy, because oftentimes we get caught in the drama of life as human beings, particularly as women. We like having drama in our lives. But we can get very caught in it and we start to feel that we're in the story, I suppose, as opposed to actually watching the story, and that's what Jodie wants to talk about. So I guess in personal development particularly, and throughout life, we start to feel that we should improve ourselves, we should fix something about ourselves and stuff, and we get caught in that cycle
Be a better person,
of wanting to fix ourselves, but then we start beating ourselves up when we're not a better person. And in this section we really wanted to dive into, you're actually enjoying the drama that you're carrying out right now, so there isn't actually anything to fix, change or improve about yourself or what's taking place, but to actually feel the joy in every moment, no matter what the drama is and the story playing out. It is actually sitting right there for us to actually look at if we dive into it. So hopefully Jodie's story will actually start to help you see that there is actually joy sitting underneath things already.
Yeah, it was interesting because Nat and I had discussed this particular topic, in length for a while. And funnily enough, it happened a year ago. We'd only just arrived in Dubai, and about 6 weeks later, the stuff that was being shipped from Australia had turned up, and the story itself is relevant but irrelevant at the same time, because the point I'm wanting to make before I begin is about closing the gap as such, like the gap of awareness, as opposed to beating myself up for what played out. But how the story goes. If anyone's been to Dubai, they're aware of the metro service here, and the last stop on the metro is called Jebel Ali, and that's exactly where I needed to go. I needed to go to the customs agent at Jebel Ali. So I'm a fairly independent person. I wasn't really aware of the whole Dubai sort of runnings of things, which is a whole other story, but so I thought, well, I'll just hop on the metro and go down to Jebel Ali and go and pay my customs fee and arrange to have the goods delivered. So I get out at the metro station, or I hop off the train at the metro station, go downstairs to where you actually leave, and as I'm walking out the door I get stopped, and there's a desk with a couple of young men sitting there in sort of security uniforms, and they said, "Oh no ma'am, you can't enter." And I said, "Why? Like, is this a train station? I have to go." And they said, "No, you can't, you need papers." So I just didn't know what the process was, what the situation was. So the mind was reeling 100 miles an hour, and I said, "What papers? What are you talking about?" And they said, "You cannot enter the Jebel Ali customs zone without authority or papers to do so. Where are you going?" And I said, "Well, I'm just going to the customs agent." And they said, "Well, you need to have them fax to us," fax, mind you, the authority to enter. And I said, "Okay, well, what's your fax number? I'll just try and call them." "Oh, we don't have a fax here." Okay. So, and it sort of played on. There was quite a few little things that every time I would need information, I'd get some bizarre comment back. So I'm feeling everything rising and rising. So anyway, I end up getting quite reactionary, and I arranged for the guy from the customs place to come with the piece of paper that said I was allowed to enter. And as I get it, he says, "That's 5 dirham." And I said, "Pardon?" And now 5 dirham is equivalent of about $1.50. So I actually said, "Why am I paying you money to walk out the door? Like, it doesn't make sense." And he says, well, that's just the way it is. And I said, no, that's just the way it is. It doesn't cut it for me. You need to tell me why. And I said, what are you doing with that money anyway? So I can feel myself performing even more. And I'm like, are you just going to take that money and just put it under the table or put it into your pocket? Or I don't understand. And it was hilarious because I was actually able to view myself performing like this. I was performing like this full-on drama queen, and normally I think in this type of situation it's like it happens. I can be quite reactionary, or I used to be a lot more reactionary until I've started closing my gap of awareness, but I sort of walked out going, wow, that was the most weird experience. But instead of beating myself up for performing, or judging myself for performing irrationally, and this poor kid didn't need me abusing him for paying him 5 dirham just because I didn't know what the situation was or what the procedure was. But instead of actually sort of going, wow, you were such a clown, I actually was able to see myself performing and got to remembered the words that Nat had spoken to me, and got to see how much I enjoyed it. That was scary. So yeah, it was. I took that one incident, and I guess by becoming aware of it, and when other things happened throughout the past year, I was able to have the experience, and then whether it be in the moment I was seeing myself doing what I was doing, or whether it be reflecting still, I mean, that depends on when the gap of awareness kicks in. But it's been a really amazing experience to start to view life in a whole different way. Instead of, like Nat said, that personal development teaching of fix, change, improve, be a better person, be your full potential, etc. I was able to start sort of say, well, wow, as I'm getting to know myself more, I do have an element of me that loves the performance, that loves the drama. And when I was outside of myself looking down, I was like the director or the producer of this particular stage show going, excellent effort.
You've done well. Great acting.
Now, it doesn't mean that I'm doing it as much as I used to, because I think I'm coming from a different space now where, in the past it was perhaps protecting my ego, or if I don't know something, and that's what happened in this Jebel Ali story, was I didn't know. So I think I find now that whenever I don't know something, I do get a bit reactionary. It's as if there's a part of me that says, well, why didn't you know? Like, why didn't you research more? Or why didn't you? But, often I quite just go in the flow and, follow my intuition to do something. But I needed to have that experience. And, it was really powerful.
Yeah, and we really did want to share that story because it was a big breakthrough for Jodie, really, in that whole aspect. But how many times do we have dramas in our lives? We're having arguments with loved ones or issues at work and things like that, and we completely perform, particularly as women. Like, it's that whole goddess thing that we want to act and carry on, and we love the chaos and the drama and stuff like that. So, but have fun with it, and I think that's the point, is we are actually already having fun with it.
Yeah.
If we take just that step back, either, as Jodie said, in the moment, or sometime thereafter, and reflect on it and go, actually, that was a really good performance. And what it's really leading to, the point is that you start to live like that all the time, so that you're starting to be an actor or a character in your own movie. You're directing it and producing it, and you're also an actor in it, and you can take
feel
that step.
That feeling the joy in that moment, as opposed to judging myself for behaving in what would be not a good way. It's like that role of being the director or the producer of the movie. I was able to maybe say, well, yeah, great performance, but a little bit of critique. Perhaps next time this, that, or the other. And it was just a whole different way of looking at it, instead of this beating myself up game, which was a very familiar game that I'd played. It was like this real feeling bad and then getting depressed and then, you know, having it play out again even sooner, like within the next day or the next week. And it didn't play out again because I was able to walk away with a smile on my face and really feeling the joy of what had played out. Now, you know, I also didn't feel any need to go back and say to the young man, I apologise for being such a, you know, drama queen, but you know, I didn't go back there, so there was no need. It was I left it as being, it's all perfect. You know, he got out of it what he needed to get out of it too. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very powerful story and a really powerful point. If you get it, it may have pushed your buttons hearing this story and what we're talking about right now. And if it does, great. That's a really important point as well.
Leave the feedback. We want to open the discussion on that.
Yeah, I think it is such an important point to discuss openly. Because it really is leading to the ultimate game, I suppose, and that you are actually playing a game here. You're a character in your own game. Life is a game, and that's where the joy sits, because you can know that you can create whatever you want when you come from that space. So,
and funnily enough, with the awareness, you don't tend to do it as much. You know,
you don't need it. I mean,
you don't need
these
it,
things come up because they're lessons for you. There's an insight there for you. In that experience that you created, and you got it. You got the lesson and you got the insight from it that, don't forget, this is a game. And so you didn't need to keep recreating it. Now you can create whatever you want.
To the point that it really was about 10 months until the next experience that I had where I got to see myself perform. But I think that's a pretty good gap now.
Compared to what I used to have, yes. Every 10 minutes. 10 months.
All right, so please leave your feedback and comments and open up the discussion. It's a valid point. Joy itself, I love the way Nat says that joy doesn't have an opposite, whereas we quite often confuse happiness with joy, and happiness does have an opposite of sadness. So the joy element is, you know, it's another version of love.
It's feeling alive, feeling like you can create. That's who you are. You feel like yourself because you're the creator. You're an infinite being, and I think that is just one point I wanted to finish on. Is don't forget you're an infinite being underneath all of this. So we're going to create drama because otherwise we're going to be so bored. We've come here to play a game, and we've come here to create dramas and things in our lives that keep us interested.
True.
Yeah.
Very true. But we'll discuss that topic a little bit further in future issues as well.
Absolutely. All right.
Thank you.
Enjoy.